We're back again to Move It or Lose It with Dan and Jennifer, and we're going to go to part 2, and we're going to talk about some other things about their marriage and what they're doing now, what they're looking forward to, and how COVID changed things with this lovely pandemic and what that has been like. And so excited to do part 2 with them. So here we go. So Dan and Jennifer, welcome back again, and thank you for being back with us.
Well,
So
thank you. No, this is, it's so great to talk with you. I mean, just like you have such a good conversational voice and just
oh, thank you.
facilitating everything. So no, thank you for having us back.
I really, I wanted to do a podcast years ago, and when things started losing, like my ability to write and things like that, everybody teased me like, you were not Chatty Cathy for nothing. So did you think about a podcast? I'm like, and I really listened to them for years to see which ones I really liked. And I love the informational ones, obviously. Well, the ones I did not like where there were two friends talking, but they were joking around with each other, but no one else would get the joke. So I knew I didn't want anything like that. And I knew I wanted something where it was more conversational, where it felt like that. And it didn't feel like it was, okay, we covered this point, this point, this point, done. Have a great day. Goodbye. So I knew I didn't want it like that. And so I'm glad. Thank you for saying that.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about moving forward. Now we've jumped ahead a bit, but I'm curious as to you're volunteering, you've written the book, you've done a lot with all of that. How was it when you guys were hitting COVID time and you're trying to do, I mean, I know what it was like for me, but I want to know from you guys, what did that feel like when you're trying to advocate and we're trying to do things and everything just went?
I think we were as dumbstruck then as we are right now. Just like, what do you mean? We had gone to Washington, D.C. to advocate in March of 2020. And then the whole world stopped. And so I think that totally changed everything and changed our approach to how we were living, how we were advocating, what was important. And the first word that comes to my head was isolating.
Yeah.
I think, like for everyone, COVID is incredibly isolating.
Yeah.
Well, and I think it was just like, there was always that sense of like, it'll be over soon. We'll be, but then they just kept closing things down. It's like,
Right.
we go to Great Lakes Loons, or the minor league baseball team over in Midland, and we get tickets to them every year. But it's like, so we had pre-ordered tickets to like 6 games in 2020, and the tickets came in the mail, and you knew that they were holding off on opening this. And somewhere in our house, there's still that envelope that's unopened, because you're just like, we're not going to open until it's time. So I think it was like, it's, for as isolating as it is and was, I think that on some levels, the pandemic, COVID and everything, that opened up the world to a lot of people too. I mean, just, I always joke that I had worked remotely before it was cool. I mean, for 2 years prior to the pandemic, I was working remotely. And I think that, the remote work made it more possible for people with disabilities.
Oh, yeah.
And that employers saw that, yes, people can work from home. And, we were able to do church online. So now it's like when and so it's like those.
Are you guys finding it hard? We find it hard to get there, because they'll get up and we're like, service on the couch or service, and it's like, ooh, what do you want to do? And like, oh, we got to get there.
Yep, you're just like, well, but if we got up, we could just watch it from home. We could drink coffee, but
then it becomes a 3-hour service. If you're like us, I'm like, why did we do this? It's a 3-hour service now.
Yeah. And so I think, but with COVID, then we were fortunate that it wasn't until like January of this year that Jennifer tested positive.
Oh, wow.
So,
yeah.
And that's always a challenge, because when you're
Sure.
talking about isolation and separation, but I'm her caregiver and I need to
Right.
transfer her. So there is no such thing as social distance and stuff. I'm in her face.
Right.
Somehow, we were able, I didn't get it.
Wow. Thank
Then
God.
that time, well, yeah, because then Jennifer got it and so did her caregiver, Jen. So we're
Really?
all fully masked and stuff. And I was sleeping in a separate bed at night and
Right.
we did really well and I never got it and all was good until August of this year. And then
No, it wasn't August, it was September.
September.
I gave Dan
Mm.
COVID for his 50th birthday.
Oh, well, God bless you.
Yeah, I somehow got COVID again.
Oh, no.
And on his 50th birthday or the day before, he
Yeah.
tested positive.
So you went
So,
clubbing then? You went to
yeah.
hit all the clubs?
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, it was, but I think but at that point, thank God we have vaccines. Thank
Mhm.
God that there's all of this stuff and that,
Right.
the world's opened up again. I mean, you still
Mhm.
have to be careful. You still have to be
Right.
mindful.
Mhm.
But I think that's where, and I think too, just with, the DMTs we take and
Sure.
just like, and then figuring out, staggering, and when do I get my vaccine? When do I
Right.
get this? When am I taking
Right.
my infusion? And so
Yeah.
it's been interesting. I think
Oh,
we've
for
been,
sure.
yeah.
And for as much as it's been isolating, we've been having some of the best virtual visits with legislators,
Oh,
because it's
that's great.
easier for your legislators to just hop on a Zoom call because of
Yeah.
5 minute.
I'm going to talk to you about that after.
Yeah. So it's good.
Yeah, and I think,
Interesting.
yeah, so it was good. Well, and that's like, with advocacy and
Right.
everything, there were, to get people with MS to drive down to Lansing for State Action Day,
Sure.
and you live up in Traverse City coming down. Well, now if we're doing virtual Action Day, people all across the state can
Right.
be involved and do things to get their voices heard rather than
Right.
being contingent on being able to drive down to Lansing, right? So
Sure.
it's really expanded the advocacy world. So
Do you think that it will, what I see, and I could be completely wrong, I see it kind of being almost like a hybrid as we go on.
Yep.
So it will be, there'll always be that option that they can do. We can have Zoom as well as in person.
Yes, I do.
Yeah. Which is, I think is great because there will always be those people that cannot come. And I think now that we know as much as we do, and everybody knows how to work Zoom, every person knows that now. I think that it would be very careless for us to not have something like that, to not have that for us so that we can have everybody be a part of it that wants to be, but that just aren't able to physically come.
It would be going in reverse if we stopped.
I
We've
agree.
made the world accessible, and then, to put the brakes on that would be the worst.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
think that's a definite. If you can say there's a bright spot of COVID,
Yeah.
that's a bright spot.
Yeah. And I definitely am with you. I saw for me, I was able to have a downtime to, and we talk about that another time, but just to kind of get a real strong vision of what I really wanted to do with this. And it's hard when there's so much noise, when the gym's going and they want to do a second gym. And I'm kind of like, no, I don't want to do that. And, it gave some quiet time, but then there was a lot of quiet time. So, but I would say agree. I did not get COVID until I had switched to, from Tysabri, because ironically I became JC positive right when COVID started. It was just kind of a weird thing so I started on Ocrevus and then, and I haven't done as well. And I didn't end up getting COVID. I got it 3 times since I was on Ocrevus. So I've had it 3 times the last few months. So I'm like, really?
Yeah.
So,
wow.
yeah. So hopefully that'll be done with, but I think, we're smart, we know to keep things, our face covered, and so many don't still. And it's like, well, we still have to. So, I love going somewhere where they pretend they all of a sudden can't hear anymore. I'm like, it wasn't that long ago we were all masked up, but now if we come in a mask, they're like, can't hear you. I'm like, really? Really? So that can be frustrating at times. But what do you guys see now moving on, kind of past the pandemic, not really past, but as advocating now, what do you see moving forward, and what are you most excited about? Besides writing the book.
Right. I know what I said. So what like shoot the moon, what would you look forward to?
Like beyond the pandemic and what we're doing and where we're going. I mean, yeah, I would love to write another book. I mean, I want to, we developed and we're working on a podcast. I mean, it's just like, it's one thing when, you start it and you just want to get your feet wet and get your bearings and stuff. I want to spend more time with it. I want to promote it and make it, and something I would listen to, so yeah, I that's where I want to go. What I want to do, I want to venture and just get our story out, the focus, within the MS community, but then to go beyond the MS community, because as we talked earlier, so many people outside of the MS community don't know what it is, don't understand it. And so it's just like, we can talk and to everyone, and everyone within the MS community needs to hear the stories and know the information and stuff. But how do we get it so that other people are hearing it? So then we as people with MS don't have to spend so much time explaining, or that when people are newly diagnosed, they don't see it as, the end of times diagnosis. And I think that's where, what we hope with our stories, you see that just because you have MS, just because you have to use a wheelchair. We often say that my life didn't start until after I was diagnosed, because until I met her, it's just like, that's when things really started taking off. And it's just like, I think that's where you don't let the disease hold you. And I think that it's like, we can say like, oh, well, we met each other and we're living happily in this. But had we been diagnosed with MS and just sheltered ourselves, we never would have met. We never would have collaborated, wouldn't have written a book, wouldn't have gone to DC, wouldn't have met you, and think of everything that you've had since you were diagnosed with MS and all the goodness that came from it. I mean, obviously, there's really crappy things that happen because of the MS, and crappy things that still happen. But it's like, I just want to keep living life and not get content with like what I have. So
100%.
Well, shoot the moon. I said I would like to go back to DC.
I heard that one. I was
I would like to go back to in person. But I'm with you, Dan. I would like to, I'd like to continue advocating. I look forward to advocating in person. And I look forward to a future where we have COVID under control. We can say, oh, do you remember back when COVID existed? It was a problem.
For sure. I was able to go to a support group and speak with them, and it was just so nice to be in person. And it was a hybrid, so there were people that were on Zoom and there were people that were there, and it felt so good. It was just a great feeling. And I don't even mean the snacks after. I mean, those were good too, but it was just a great feeling to have, people in the room that were there. It was just a fantastic feeling. So I totally get that. And that is a big thing, is I would love to do some things in this area that we can do, in person. So very, very excited. So I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys have, coming up. I know you guys have got some good ideas and some things that you want to do. And I think it's going to be great. I just encourage you guys to keep going, because you've got such a great story, and keep moving. I've gotten to see some of the podcasts, and I've seen some of the YouTube stuff. And you guys got some good hits on there. So, I mean, those are some good.
Thank you.
And it's like, because we had started the YouTube, and then you realize just how much work that actually
Oh,
is.
yeah. Yes.
It's just like, always like, I just want to write a story. I could be done with this in like 2 hours.
Yeah.
So thank you. So,
Yeah.
okay. So let me ask you this, and
Mhm.
obviously because we're looking for ideas, but where are you going with this? What do you see going
Well, you'll
forward?
have to know that when you interview me on your podcast.
All right.
All right.
I was going to say,
Then we'll save that question.
all right. So that'll be
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
I'll make that like the 7th question we ask.
Okay. Then we'll get there. Cause then I encourage you to get that podcast moving, get a guest on and let's go. Cause you
All right.
guys you guys are so good at that. So
Thank you.
let's roll.
All right. So all right. We're doing this.
We will.
Good deal. So now so now you guys have family near you or not near you at all?
I have family in Grand Blanc, so about
Okay.
an hour and a half from me, and Dan's family is back in Iowa.
Okay.
So that's
Okay.
interesting because they're a 8-9 hour drive.
Yeah.
Which is, Dan is, God willing, Dan is able to make that drive and to do that. But that's a lot for a person
Yeah.
my mom to drive.
That's exhausting.
And to transfer me. But yeah, we have incredible families and incredible.
Good. Very
so,
good.
Yeah.
That's very, very helpful. It's so, it just is a big thing when you've got that family support too. And so many of our MSers don't have it. And it's become very real to me doing the support groups and stuff, as I'm sure you know, how many are alone. And it just how the support groups mean so much. And I wish I could run about 40 of them. But just to be able to meet the needs of, and I think you guys have the same heart, is just to want to be there for so many who don't have that, and just are looking for someone to hear something good, something that their life isn't over. And so I think that is just something that's so. What you guys do is a lot of giving your heart and your love, and I think that means so much to others, for sure. So I love that you guys put continuing to make an impact, meeting new advocates, crazy dreams, but you put going back to DC. No, I don't think that's crazy. Are you kidding? I'd be there with you.
Yeah.
So I love that. And I think that it is important to keep dreaming and keep thinking of new ways to advocate, because we change, and we've got younger people that are all about Zooming is like, yeah, I did that in 4th grade. So now we've got to keep up with technology, and we've got to figure out how to make this whole advocacy look like a way that would be interesting to them, maybe not to us, but we've got this younger crowd, these younger MSers, unfortunately, that are getting it younger, but their way of advocating is going to be much different than ours.
Sure.
But to celebrate it and to celebrate them and to say, go for it. Like, I don't know how to do that, but you should do that, because it's what your age is going to relate to. And so I think a lot of what I love to do, and I think probably you guys as well, is to really encourage our younger generation that is stuck with this. You do what's going to relate to your generation, and how you're going to get them, how you're going to be able to speak their language. Because I didn't know I was so old. I didn't know that the words I spoke were like, they're looking at me like, what did you say? So I'm like, when did I get this old overnight? I don't know, but they're not relating to me somehow. So
no, it's just the reality of, what do they say, Kathy? Nearly 1 million Americans living with multiple sclerosis.
Yes.
And so when you talk about, or when we talk about support group members, self-help group members, feeling isolated or alone, it's reach out. There are so many avenues, social media, so many different platforms where you're not alone. And maybe that support won't be sitting right next to you on the sofa or the couch, but that support exists. So don't ever feel that you're alone.
Yeah.
And I think that is very important, because and that can be a a bear and a hack on your own. So you need to reach out.
Yes, for sure. I mean, I'm looking for you guys to do a TikTok. You know, that's the whole new thing. My marketing girl said a TikTok. I'm like, you want me to do a TikTok? I did it. So
so I need to look where how can I find you on TikTok? What's your
I'm not announcing that right now. I'll tell you after. I'm not ready for everybody to see those yet.
You know, it's interesting just in the sense that, you know, what I do for a living in terms of marketing towards, you know, high school sophomores, juniors, and seniors, and just the report showing how a lot of students, they don't go, they're looking, they search TikTok for information.
And there really is information on there from,
absolutely.
It's very interesting because at first I'm thinking, well, there's going to be all these crazy animals dancing, and there is that, but there is, if like Twitter, they wanted me to go on Twitter. I'm like, no. Finally went on, and I've had some great relationships. That's where I've found a lot of the doctors that I connected with, and a lot of different people that were on the webinar that I did. And so I think it's tricky at first when you're getting up there to like say, I don't want to learn anymore. I've already know Instagram, and I don't use Facebook as much. But it is tricky. But I think for us to be relevant and to be able to really reach, it may be, you know, hiring someone that's younger, that you're like, you know, help me do this. I want to relate. I want to be able to meet, you know, to get this age as well. Help me to do this. And so I found that to be something that has been a big help for me. And I think for you guys as well, is just knowing how to reach the younger generation as well.
And same token, and I'm sure you feel it, I don't want to forget about my generation.
Yes.
Or the people that were diagnosed with me, because for as much as that new generation is valuable and important, I don't want someone to put me out to pasture because I've been living with multiple sclerosis for 25 years.
Yes.
I'm still very viable. I'm still important. And I think that the community knows that, but they have to be reminded that it can be a crappy place sometimes, but you just have to continue moving forward and take the suggestions and need to reach out to younger people, because there's always so much we can learn.
And I would say I noticed a lot, and sometimes I'm using my trekking poles. Sometimes I'll use an AFO, and sometimes I can walk fine, right? We just never know what the day is going to hold. But one of the things I found is that if I have to use something, I'm always still stunned, even after in my, you know, rose-colored glasses, I thought, oh, after the pandemic, people will be so much kinder to everybody. Well, we see what's happening now. But I definitely have, my husband will always, you know, one of the first things I did, my best friends in Colorado wanted me to come out and see them. So they got me tickets. They're like, you're coming. I'm like, okay. So he made sure I had a wheelchair just so I didn't have to, if anything came up, I didn't have to deal with that. And just, I remember them saying, your wheelchair's over there. I was like, and it was just such an odd thing that, and I seemed to be in everybody's way. And I just thought, you know, it's not changed. It's actually gotten a little bit worse even. It's like, get out of the way. We don't have time. And, I think that that's a big thing that we still, if anything, that made me realize there's still so much advocating to do. And I think, like, to your point, Jennifer, if we only focus on one group, the younger group, then what we lose, and I see this the one group that I have is just women. What I've seen is the younger group, the younger ones that are newly diagnosed. I see the older ones that have been diagnosed for years have a lot of advice, and they help the younger girls that are diagnosed feel like, okay, I can breathe. This isn't the worst thing. But on the flip side, I'll notice the older ones that have been diagnosed that kind of feel exhausted, all of a sudden okay, I'm back in the fight, because there's this new empowerment that's like, what's my why? And I'll say that at the end, don't forget your why. Don't forget why we're battling this. And so I think it's such a neat thing when you get all the ages together, because then if you remember, we've got something to give to each other. And I find that to be really fascinating.
Well, I think it is. And then the encouragement from both sides. And then all of a sudden, not feeling like I can't do anything now 20 plus years with the disease. If anything, it's helping the other ones. But then they see, maybe get out of their world to say, okay, well, I'm here because I need to help this person, who's done it for 20 plus years, because I like that.
Yeah. So it's really neat. I think that if we can keep our mind like that, it may not be in our 20s. However, we have so much to offer, and looking at them and saying, wow, they've got a lot too. They've got a lot of spunk, they've got a lot of drive. And it reminds me back of when, I can still do this. And I'm not going to forget my why. I am going to still battle this darn thing. And so I think it is good for when we've got the different ages. So I love that. So I'm excited to hear everything that you guys are going to do. We're definitely staying in touch. And I can't wait to read your new book or hear it.
Dedicated to you.
Very excited about what you guys are doing. And I've been so pleased, and I was so excited to have you guys on, and looking forward now that we're so close to collaborating with you guys and doing some fun things coming up. So I wrote down ways that people can get a hold of you. So I put, why don't you guys go ahead and let people know? So if anyone wants to get a hold of you guys.
I think the catch-all would be just through our website is coupletakesonms.com. Then Twitter is at couple takes on MS. There's no A because there were too many characters. So just couple takes on MS. And then email is email us at a couple takes on MS at gmail.com.
Okay. And I'll have these at the bottom of the show notes too, so everybody will have them. But again, I just want to give you guys, just thank you so much for being on with us and giving our listeners the time to get to know you guys. And I knew when I met you, when we were on the holiday with Kathy Reagan, I was like, oh, I've got to have these two on. So I was very excited to see you guys. And I'm like, oh, for sure, we are doing this. So thank you guys.
And then we will have you, I'm thinking sometime in end of January, middle of January.
It'd be great.
The new year with you. So.
That would be wonderful. I would be very excited and look forward to it. Well, in the meantime, you guys have a very, very happy holiday. And I will say goodbye to the listeners, and you guys hold for a second. And so I hope you guys have enjoyed the 2 episodes with Dan and Jennifer. And like I said, all the information will be at the bottom of the show notes. So have a great day, guys. And we'll see you again next time on Move It or Lose It. And don't forget to rate it and subscribe. And please make sure that you definitely subscribe, because I always hear, I listened to it, I loved it. Did you subscribe? I forgot. Don't forget, make sure you subscribe. Thanks so much, guys. Talk to you soon.